Do you need a miracle? Join us today as we talk about an incredible story of miracles in the waiting.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shieldmaidens podcast. This is a place where we hope you'll come to be raised up, to be a warrior for Christ, while also learning how to fight back against the enemy. And the whole time, we really just want to point you to Jesus. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Riley.
We're your hosts for the Shieldmaidens podcast, and we're really glad that you're here today. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about this conversation. I say it every single week, but I really am. We have my sweet friend Cherri here with us, who we'll introduce in just a second. But before we do that, if you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe. We would really love that. It helps us out a lot. Like, share, comment on any of our stuff. And if you're listening on the audio versions, leave us a review. That would be super helpful.
That's right.
Yes. But we have Cherri Bornman with us here today. Woo-hoo! I feel like we need like applause. Like, yeah, Cherri. Cherri, came all the way from Michigan just for us, not really for us, but she's here visiting a friend, and
she agreed to visit us on her
visit. She agreed to visit us on her little trip, her little vacation,
so
restful vacation.
I was so excited. I've never done like something like this before.
It's awesome. You're doing all kinds of cool things though. Yeah. So if you want, before we hear about all the cool things you're doing, just introduce us or introduce yourself. I'm sorry. I can
introduce us, please.
You don't have to introduce us.
I won't.
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. And you can just tell us about your family or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Anytime I can brag about my family, of course.
You have an amazing family.
So I am Cherri.
Not Sherry.
Not Sherry and not Jerry. Okay. I've had people when I say Cherri, they're like, Jerry? No, Cherri. Like a fruit. There's a little story with that. And I'm married to my childhood sweetheart. I was 8 when I met my husband, Cornelius. He was 9. I'm not kidding. We wrote the little letters. We saved them in the pencil boxes. That dates me a little bit.
Oh, that is awesome.
And yes, we have been married this year 26 years.
26?
Wow.
Yeah, and we have 3 beautiful daughters and one that we will meet in heaven. But our oldest is Abby. She is 23, going to be 24. We have Rebecca. We call her Becca. She's 21. And JL, she is 14. Those are my 3 precious
awesome
gems.
And they really are just like your family.
I love your family. I wish they were here with me because they would totally make the whole thing.
They would.
Yeah.
Next time we'll just have your whole family. They're really awesome. I got to spend some time with you guys a few months ago, and I left there thinking like, how do I get my family to be like Cherri's family? Really, like all around. Just the way that you guys are together. It was so sweet.
That could be another story because there's some intentionality of how God worked that out. I know that it's not just a by chance. Your family is a product of what God has designed it to be, but also just like pouring into what He's told you it should be.
Yeah.
And just working towards that like you would any goal or vision or mission or something. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell you're intentional with your family, just being around you, and I love that. I love that about you.
And I can't wait to share just like what God's done and the miracles.
Yes. Well, we can get to it if you want to. Start wherever you want.
So for all my kids, God gave me a very specific word. Like
He did with all of them.
Yes.
Aww.
So like with Abby, when I was holding and nursing her, He told me that she would be like her grandma and interceder. Like she was going to have a heart for praying and loving on people in very real, tangible ways. And so I was like, it wasn't like this moment. Yeah. It was just like, this sense and this word. And I'm like, it's not something you can just make up. It was just, you're nursing your baby. And that came to my mind. I'm like, yes, Lord. And I just prayed through that with her. And the second one for Becca was like, she would be a worshiper. And she is. She is an incredible drummer, percussionist, pianist, guitarist. Like and her and I travel and do things together. And so that's Becca. But JL, I actually did not like the word He gave me for her. I'm like telling you, this is the first week of having her and I'm holding her. And it was prepare her for her marriage. And I'm like, what? Like,
That's
Lord,
weird
is
for a
that
newborn.
you?
She's
It
a
was
teeny
just weird.
duck.
She's tiny. I'm like, and I actually even thought like, that's kind of weird. I don't think that's you. Why would I? But I thought, why would I think that? Like, so I can tell you honestly that every year I would be like, when you're praying for your child and stuff, I would go back to that and say, God, is that? And it would just like prepare her for her marriage. And so let's fast forward now to to the day that it happened that we almost lost JL to kidney and heart failure. She's 10 years old. It's in 2021. And I'm so thankful to do this podcast. God doesn't make mistakes because he's been really working on my heart about remembering his faithfulness and what he does, because that's what you're going to need when you're in a hard place. You need to remember what has God done before. What those will be markers. And when you're in a hard place and you go back and remember, God did this, it girds you up and it gives you the strength to. And so we're coming out of COVID. Jail wasn't in school because school shut down. And at this time in our life, I remember thinking, man, Jail's a little peanut, and I'm not a little peanut. You see me, and my other girls are, kind of like their mama, built like me. And then I thought, well, maybe she's going to be like her dad. She's a little more lengthy, real little skinny, but it was just, and I noticed her also, like, I felt like she wasn't eating as much. Her energy wasn't the same. And this was she was super hyperactive, active little girl, like where she always wanted to just be running and bouncing around. And, but I just thought we'd just come out of COVID. We're going back to school now. And I thought maybe she's just not used to school routine and she's just tired. But I couldn't deny the worry about it. And I remember I had a friend recently remind me, Cherri, we were on a retreat together and you were sharing with me how concerned you were. Jill wasn't eating well. She just looked tired. And I noticed I really didn't have to buy her clothes. I bought her clothes because she's cute and I wanted to get her clothes, but she really hadn't grown in a few years.
Wow.
That she could wear the same clothes. But I just wanted to get her new clothes anyways. Now, when I look back at the pictures, I think, how could we not see that she was kind of this grayish, yellowish tint, like just this, but it's this slow fade. I think when you're in it, a lot of times parents, you just don't realize what's happening when you're living and you're seeing it day to day. And that's why you need people in your life to speak into your
Absolutely.
life. So the day that it happened, and I think she was in fifth grade because she was so excited for this fifth grade teacher because her sisters had him and they were like, he's the best. We had gone on a field trip and I just remember that day we were on the field trip, we were going on a hike on a nature trail with the kids, spending all day doing investigating, and she couldn't keep up with the group. Like we would go do something and then, okay, it's time to go to the next activity. And I'm with a group of kids and we're talking, laughing. And I look back like, where's JL? And she's straggling behind us. And I'm like, I go back, I'm like, JL, are you okay? And she goes, Mommy, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And I'm like, okay, well maybe, and then instantly I had this thought, maybe like she's low blood sugar. Like, oh my word, maybe this is what it's been the problem. Because, diabetes with children.
Yeah. Sure.
They lose weight. Like I started thinking of friends that I knew this. I'm like, oh my word, this is what it, but I didn't tell her that. But I'm like, let's go get a snack.
Yeah.
Let's go quick get a snack. And she ate the snack and she looked at me and just said, do I have to go to run club tonight? And so she had been in run club and it was something she was looking forward to, so excited, but she literally didn't have the energy for it. So I thought, no, we're not. We're going to go home. So we go home. And of course, parents with kids were busy going to activities. I was at the theater doing music theater, playing piano. And my husband was at a meeting. We didn't get home till late. And our oldest daughter had come home from college because of a COVID exposure. She had to come home. And so it was a godsend that she was there and she was with JL. And we hear this little voice, and my husband tells me that, come in the room. JL's like saying, Mommy, Daddy, I need a drink. And we're thinking she's avoiding going to sleep.
Bed. Yeah.
And my husband goes in, and he literally can hear her panting like a dog that's like hot.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
and he walks in, and he could see from the door like her vein just like
Pulsing.
and he's like, okay, something's not right. And so, but she was talking normal. And children are so resilient. I mean, at this time, she was in the state of heart and kidney failure, dying, but we didn't know. We just knew that, okay, she's, this, and what is this? And I have to be honest, my husband has me come in and we go out of the room, we talk, and it's like, should we go to the ER? And we're like, no, we'll sit for hours. What good will it be? And then there's all these, because it was still during that time when it was, people didn't, you're waiting forever. There's all this weird stuff going on. And my daughter was like a voice of reason, like, Mom and Dad, you're both home. Go to the ER with her, like right now. Because I thought, we'll wait till the morning when my pediatrician, we know him so well, he'll get us right in. She would not have been here if we did that. And Abby just like, Mom and Dad, like, take her to the ER.
What are you thinking?
Like,
Yeah.
you don't know
Something is
what's
wrong.
wrong.
Yes.
Something's going on. So we get there, and of course, another just miracle. One of the first miracles is, I would say, Abby being home, because we were going to wait. And the second miracle was that when we were at our small hospital, we live in a very rural area in Michigan. We get there, and there was a nurse there from a bigger hospital. So, during that time, they were sending nurses around to different hospitals for support. And this nurse was there in our little Alma hospital. And it just felt like the doctor even, and the other nurses from there didn't quite know, like, her blood pressure was like 250 over 180.
Whoa.
Oh my
And
goodness.
here is this nurse from a big city, and he was used to like ICU and acute stuff. And he instantly knew something was very wrong. He's like, my husband tells the story better. I don't think I quite realized how serious. I knew it was serious, but she had walked in with us. She was still able to walk in with us. I mean, it sounds crazy, but so if I were you, I remember he got her already, gave her a blood transfusion. He was asking all these questions, even before the doctor was. I mean, it was, and he told my husband, if this were my child, I would recommend to you to ask to be airlifted, transferred immediately to a hospital that is equipped to take care of her. We wouldn't have known what to do. And the people on staff at the time really didn't know. That kind of looked like, I mean, is she bleeding internally? What's going on? They just didn't know what to do. But he was like, something is very wrong. So they secured her and they wrapped her up tight, and they were going to airlift her, but they luckily had quickly ambulance to take her. And my husband rode with her, and he told me, go home, get a bag. I drove home, and I met by my mom and my daughters, and in the middle of the night, and it's like 2 a.m. And then that's when I knew that something was very wrong. And in fact, I felt the Lord told me, and I prayed this. I was like, Lord, I give her to you. She's not mine. And whatever happens, I will praise you. And it wasn't something I had prepared myself to say. That was just something that just came out. And my mom and my daughters were praying with me, and we just prayed, Lord, make a way, make a miracle, touch our JL. So I packed our bags and I start driving, and I get a call from Cornelius, and he says, are you here? Are you almost here? And this is a hospital. It was like an hour and 20 minutes from our house. And so I'm driving, and he tells me, are you almost here? And I'm like, oh, give me another 15. And he said, they're going to take her back. I'm like, what do you mean, for surgery? What's going on? And he said, can't they wait for me? And he said, they can't wait. She's going to die. And so I just like, I get to the hospital, and I literally see them. I'd grab her toe and like grab it quick so I could just like get this one touch, and they take her back to. And I wasn't there when my husband arrived, and he tells this story so well of how there were all these people. It's late in the middle of the night. He's like, wow, they're busy in here. What's going on? There must be a lot of people. And he recognized and realized when he was there, they were all there for her. And they started talking about ventilating, incubating, all these things, and putting a port in to do immediately. Like, life support, like all these things. And he just said, wait, we need to wait. My wife's not here. What are you saying? And he said, sir, we can't wait. She will not be with us. She's in heart and kidney failure. And so he blindly just signed it, released her to their care. And Cornelius and I, we sat in that room and we were waiting in the waiting room. And we held each other's hands and we literally just no words and just tears and Lord, just crying out to the Lord. But all of a sudden, what did I remember? What did God tell me when she was born? Prepare her for her marriage. At the time, I did not like that. I was like, it was a crazy word. But that word snapped me out and said, no, Lord, you gave me a promise that I will get to see my daughter be married. And so I was like, it literally just, I was just almost like, I looked at my husband and he's crying. And then I just stopped crying. It's like, she's going to live. She is going to live. And it was exactly what I needed at that moment. I think about it now and I just think how good God is, how he's from the very beginning. It's not that he made this happen for JL, but he knows our story. He knows everything that's going to happen. He knows our choices, just everything about us and our bodies and everything. And he cared enough to know that that word would be what I needed in that moment. And I believe that God, when you're in crisis or in a time of your life, you need to start seeking God for words, like a specific word for your situation. I believe that that was something, and you'll hear more with the story, but she made it. She was, they put her in a sedated, because she was vented. They had to let her heart rest and get her stable. And it was in that time in the hospital that when we went in her room that morning, again, after that, they got her stable, my husband looked out and her room was all glass and you could see a rainbow in the window. And my husband told me, look, Cherri, there's God's promise to us for her. And so that was what my husband needed at that moment. He saw that and he was reminded of God's promises. And so I just over and over when I think of the when we were in our most crisis, those things that God gave us and those miracles. So it's hard to, there's so many details, but I will just say the next miracle was that while we were there in the hospital and all that, I mean, we go from heart failure, kidney failure to like 10 days we were released from ICU.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's what God did in her life. Like took her from that. That didn't mean that the journey wasn't over because what started next was dialysis. And a nurse in the ICU telling me, because I was like, we're going home, like, like we're fixing her. And this nurse looked at me and just said, Cherri, you need to pace yourself. This is a marathon. And I was like, what do you mean this is a marathon? And I can laugh about it now. At the time, I was like, I can't even run a 5K, and I was sobbing, but I needed to hear that because we are so quick to want a quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
We want we hear it all the time. Like we live in this lifestyle of quick food and just quick fixes and the quick hit dopamine hits. And I wanted that. That's my personality. I felt like I did not have the stamina to sustain this. Yeah. I'm like any parent who just wants us to fix this. Let's go home. And so at that time we had learned that Jael's kidneys did not grow with her. So she had kidney disease and she had been born with kidneys that they got to us. My husband makes it a good analogy of if you don't give a pool the right filter that's big enough for the pool's going to get junked up and janky.
Yep.
And basically that's what happened with Jael's body. Her kidney didn't grow with her and the doctors missed it. And that we had found out later in some blood work that I had asked for, she had higher creatinine levels that showed, and her high blood pressure. She had always had high blood pressure, but they just said she's nervous. Kids get scared when they come to the doctor, because it's true. Kids don't like going to the doctor.
Right. The anxiety.
But I just didn't dig into that. And then I noticed the tiredness. I asked for blood work. It was missed. But when they went back and looked at it, this had been an ongoing, it wasn't an acute thing. It was something she had been born with, grown with. And so, yeah, that's what we learned about her. So the next miracle I would say is that we start the trek of dialysis. And dialysis for adults is one thing, but for children, it's another thing. So if you don't know what dialysis is, it's basically them cleaning your blood because your kidneys process your blood and clean it for you. My husband's way better at all the technical stuff. I'm just
You're
like
doing awesome.
just the fixing the baby part. I want them to fix her and take care of her. But dialysis is 3 hours long. So you're hooked up, and she had a port. She had already had 3 surgeries for a port here. And so they hook her up to a machine, and then they're draining the blood out and putting it back in her. They told me, again, the word marathon. I don't like that. They said, when she does this, it will feel like she's run a marathon. It's super hard on their bodies. Children are growing. So every time they come, they weigh them, they check their blood. There's a lot of things you have to go to because if you do it too hard, it can cause like just a lot of issues. So it's just a Band-Aid. It was a Band-Aid to what we knew she was going to need. She was going to need a kidney. I mean, we'd never been exposed to anything like this. You hear about this when you hear about people with issues like cancer, transplant, liver, you know what I mean? You hear it and you're like, oh, and you pray for them.
Yeah.
But it's another thing like when you're actually in it, like, I don't know what this is. And so, but we knew she was going to need a kidney donor. And so we were thinking, who could do it? We were telling people like, go get checked. There's this test you can do and they'll do it, start the process. And then our next miracle was, in this waiting period for us was my husband, we're driving to dialysis because it was an hour and a half away. There's only 3 places in Michigan that do pediatric dialysis. And there's Detroit, U of M, and then Grand Rapids, and that's where we were at. On our way one morning to dialysis, my husband is looking at me. We left about 5:30 in the morning so we could get there at 7 to start the procedures of dialysis, and it was a Monday morning. And Cornelius looks at me, Cherri, I'm going to be the donor, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I was thinking he was like being hopeful because, I mean, you have to go through extenuating to be a living donor because we often think of deceased donors, people who die and you get their kidney. But living donation is like amazing and it is a possibility. And he's like, the Lord told me. And I'm like right now he told you? He said, no. Remember when I had my dream back in March? And all of a sudden we went back and looked in March. My husband of that year had a dream that it was a strange dream. Okay. Men have strange dreams. Okay.
Dreams are weird anyway.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, is this dream from God or is it just weird? And my husband would tell you he doesn't dream. Okay. He's like, only women dream. But no, but his dream was, he said he was standing at a standing dock, like where trucks come to get loaded. And he fell backwards into this truck and he heard the word, it's a match. And then he woke up. And at the time when he told me about it, he's like, what do you think that means? Like it was so detailed, very specific, and it woke him up. And the fact that it woke him up and he kind of like was talking to me about it, told me it was very impactful because he's just not that kind of guy. And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, but maybe just write it down and try to remember it later. He tells my mom, and my mom was like, I'm going to pray for you. This is not good. She's thinking he's going to die or something. And, you fell back,
it's risky.
whatever. But you kind of dismiss it. But at that time in the car, when he said that, I had no doubt because to be a donor, you have to be a match. Like there's a lot of things that go into it. In that month of November, so we're in November, a month into this nightmare, he tells me this on the way to hospital, and he almost was giddy like a little kid telling the doctors and the nurses about it. And I remember thinking they were kind of looking at him like, like,
You might not be.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I knew that when I saw their faces, and my husband even told me, I know they think I'm crazy, but God told me.
He knew it.
He said, and I just say that's, I don't know if these are if people would call these miracles or God winks, like along in this dark, hard thing, God was giving us like these miracles, like just that he was there in it with us and that he was not abandoning us to this, what we were in. And so he went to 26 appointments in the month of November. He just sped through them so that he could get this, approval thing, all the testing. And in the middle of this testing, in December, they're still doing all this testing. There's this wait while I'm going. So I'm just waiting. And, it just felt like when you're in it, it just feels like it's taking forever. When just think about it, when you're in a hard place or hard something, you just feel like this is so hard. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like I remember thinking like, how can we wait for a kidney and see, I don't know if I can keep doing this, but we have to do it. Like, because we're in this with JL and I want to be. So I was doing all the things I could to make this like better for my little girl who's 10. And she was so brave. But I'm telling you, God, even through her, would speak to her. And he gave her a word. I remember we were in the car driving to dialysis. And we were listening to worship music. And it was Maverick City. And it was, I'm wait on you, Lord. I'm going to wait on you. And I just was really feeling heavy. And JL said, just this little voice just speaks out, Mama, God's working. We just have to wait.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're right, JL. And that was like another just anchor for me to hold on to, that God had us. And that the faith he was putting in her, because I actually have saved on my phone her quotes that she would say that were so God inspired, of that things that God was giving her, like, Mommy, I'm going through this. I might pull it up on my phone just so you guys can hear some of them. But there were ones that I just thought for a little 10-year-old to say. She says, I also know, Mommy, that why I'm going through this so that I can be ready for the next thing.
Oh.
And I'm like, and I wrote this, do you know what the next thing is? No, because it's God's plan.
Oh.
And she goes, one of the things that I think is happening, or why I'm realizing things, is because I'm maturing, because I'm going through this.
Oh.
Like just things that God
kept
saying to her, like and I would just think, such faith in this.
Childlike faith.
It was a childlike faith. And this trusting God. There were times when I needed, and it wasn't that I was hopeless and because God kept meeting us in this, but along the way, I needed those to keep me anchored and to keep me focused on Jesus, focused that he's here on us, instead of like being desperado and doing things, because there's so many things that we can choose to do to survive things that are not well. I've had friends that in crisis, affairs, or they leave their spouse, or drinking, or they fall to addictions because they're just this hopelessness. And so keeping our eyes and focusing on the things that God is in, those little things will help you be anchored in those moments. In December, so now we're in December, my husband got COVID. And I'm talking COVID bad enough that I thought he was going to die. He went to the hospital. It was bad. And I remember I was not a compassionate wife. I told him, you can't die. We need your kidney. And he was like, and I really feel like when I look back, I wasn't very present for him for that. All I could think about, I need your kidney for jail. And he was thinking that too. And it was during that time that we also were like, they wanted to vaccinate jail for COVID, but they couldn't guarantee me that it wouldn't affect her heart. I mean, and they were requiring it for transplant.
Oh,
I just thought, God, and then here's my husband with COVID. So there's that. Well, like, see, your husband has it, but like the cardiologist couldn't guarantee if we gave her the COVID vaccine, how a child would respond with heart. Like he told me, I've given it and some of them don't do it. It's like a 50-50. I'm like,
That's not good odds.
no, those are not good odds. And so, but again, God met us. She had to have the vaccine, and I did it with her. It was, I know there was lots of controversy with people like, you shouldn't, you should, you shouldn't, you should. And I'm like, well, this is where we're at, and this is what we have to do for her transplant. And after that, Cornelius had one more test he had to do for the transplant. He came through, he got well, but he was weak, and it was just, it extended the whole testing that he had to do. But we're in January now, and he finally gets a test where, the stress test, we have to run forever, and people, they're doing all that. Well, my husband does CrossFit. He competes competitively. He's very in shape. And so he was like, this isn't going to be a problem. And he does the test. And of course, they told him, you're like the healthiest person we've ever done. But there was a little blip in the test. You have to go see a cardiologist. If you weren't on the donor process, we would just ignore it and you'd be fine. But because of it, we have to like have you follow through because it's like all this stuff. So he went to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist said, well, you either can't do the donor, or we could do, what do they call it, where they do, they check your heart. They do it so much where they go in and check your heart.
heart cath.
Yes, they do it so often. They're so
They do,
normal.
yeah.
They're normal procedures to check. It's the best way to see in your heart. He has the heart cath. And because we're like, we're going through with this because we need you to say yes to him being the donor, and he comes out and he tells my husband, he said, I know this is going to be hard to hear, but he said, your daughter's situation has saved your life, because he said, men like you, they have heart attacks and die, and they never know. He says, you have heart disease, you have 40% blockage in your heart. And you hear about men like in their 50s or 40s, who die young because they have this, what in the world, a random heart attack, we didn't know. And I mean, I actually have a friend that happened to her husband. He was 36.
Oh, wow.
And so here it was, he said, your daughters, I know this, it's hard to hear, but this saved your life. There's another miracle, another miracle within a miracle, that we know. And so we honestly, all we cared about was, can he still be in the donor project? And he said, yes, because he said, it's not, I mean, everything else in the test, but now we need to move forward with, you're going to see a cardiologist regularly, make sure your lifestyle, your food, even strict, I felt like, well, and so we get past that. And it was in February that both the donor and the recipient have to be approved. And the last chink is they go through strenuous psychological testing. They have to pass that they would be well enough mentally to take care of themselves after receiving or giving a kidney. And we know of families that have been denied at the very last because they didn't pass the test, because they were either too depressed, suicidal. Will you take care of the kidney that's being given to you? But that miracle was, he was a match, and he was approved by a donor panel. He had his own doctors and board that approved it, and jail had her own board and doctors that approved her, that she was well enough. You have to be healthy enough. So mind you, she had been in heart failure. That would have kept her a weak heart would have kept her. But during these months leading up, her heart got strong and healthy enough that they said, she's well enough. Her heart has healed that she can receive the transplant. And so March 15th, our jail got her transplant. And my husband, that day, our family went in early in the morning, and the doctor said it was a slam dunk.
That's what you want to hear?
Yeah, it was what you want to hear. So, there's so many more stories that we could share. I feel like we could share. Maybe there's questions you can ask in it. I don't know. But all that to say that when I look back on that, the Lord used, we all have said this. Actually, JL said this now, going back. There's so many more details with the story, but she said, Mama, I don't want to forget. I wouldn't not let this happen to me. And I'm like, well, Jill, I don't want this to happen. I don't want to,
Right.
I honestly, but she says, but we don't want to forget. And I
Wise.
think that's what's so easy to do. Like when we come on the other side. And when I was thinking about sharing just a little bit of our story today, how easy it is to forget when God does something. And that's why he told them in the Old Testament, about setting the stones of remembrance so
Yeah.
that your children, so that when you pass, you'll remember what God did,
Yeah.
and that you would tell your children. And so there's this thing I've been telling myself, when I'm when something's going on, like, because listen, we're going to be in places in our lives where we're always going to need a miracle or hard things. So I use this word rest, and R is to remember God's faithfulness. E, embrace your current situation. And that sounds, at first I thought that sounds almost, well, if this isn't good, why would I want to embrace it? But instead of just looking like escape, embracing and saying, God, what can you do in this situation? What can the God who created the universe, where nothing is impossible, where you can do immeasurably more than what we can ask or imagine, what can you do in this situation? And I want to embrace where I'm at, embrace what you can do in this situation. So S would be to surrender. That's really hard. And I think about surrendering, and I feel like it's something that we have to learn every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah. Multiple times in all kinds of situations, but in the places where it just seems so like sometimes when in the most impossible times, it's easiest to surrender because listen, there was nothing I could do. There was nothing of myself that I could do to fix it. It was going to take a miracle for my daughter. And her story is miraculous because so many kids that we've seen have waited. I mean, hers was a 6-month trek. There are kids there in dialysis with her that were there 2 years, 4 years. They weren't growing. They were sick. Like they couldn't get the kidney because they were sick, but then the dialysis was making them sick, but they needed the dialysis, it was just this horrible thing. Kids that commit suicide on dialysis because it's just you're not a child, you're coming, you're on a machine. And she wasn't in school. God was so good. He was faithful. And I am so, actually I actually didn't want to talk about this when you had come to me.
Sorry.
But I need to remember. And there's a working through when you go through something and you're on the other side and you look back. I look back and there's actually been more miracles of what God's done in our family because during that time, we had been in a church that did not. I look back now and I can understand there are some people in churches and just people who don't know how to walk with you when you're in crisis. We were in crisis. We were leaders in our church. I had been 18 years the lead worship leader. And my husband, the lead elder, like just so many things. We raised our family there. And our church just didn't know how to walk with us. We couldn't be leaders. We couldn't be there. And just they weren't able to walk with us in that. I used to have bitterness about that, feeling like you failed us, you abandoned us. We ended up not being, at that time realizing that we were in a place that we needed to move and leave. And counseling afterwards, I look back and I see how God, he told us, just like jail needed a transplant, your family needed a transplant so that we could have new life, new growth. And so I can say that now, and how important it is for us to remember, because I look back and I look at other miracles that he's done from that. Like he starts revealing things that you didn't realize
Yeah.
until, and when you go back and he reveals a little bit more. And so there's been so many beautiful things that have come from this. My husband now, he gave his kidney. He's
Which
like
is amazing.
yeah, he's a living hero. I tell people, like, people who give kidneys are like heroes. Like,
Yes.
Definitely.
how many of us would want to give it? I mean, for your
Right.
Yeah.
child, I think people
Yeah.
would be
Would
like,
do
I'll
it.
do it, anything. But there are people who do it. Like my husband meets people who do it to strangers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we know what they went through to give a kidney
Yeah.
to someone they didn't know. And I'm like, they are literally living heroes. Like, but because of that, he has had so many people ask him, because he's a competitive with CrossFit. He gets invited to gyms or things where he competes, and they're like, man, you got that big scar. And he's like, yeah, well, it's not super big, but it's like right here. And he takes a shot. He goes, I want everyone to see this scar. And he's been able to share
Yeah.
his story of
gonna
jail
say.
and tell them about, I mean, they kind of look at him like, dude, he's like, God gave me this dream, like before it happened, like,
Wow.
and tell him what God did in Jail's life. And he goes, man, I don't know where you are, brother, but he says, God's real. And I can tell you, like, my husband's cooler telling it. I feel like he's and he's had these opportunities to share actually more like in a secular
Yeah.
setting with people who would never hear about, miracles or God, what God's doing because of this. God's so good. He doesn't waste anything, and he makes some beautiful things from the most hardest,
Yes, he does.
Yep.
ugliest things that we would just like, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to end. But that thing, rest, remember, embrace, surrender, and trust in the moment in those places that you're needing a miracle. And I would just say too that God did give us a church that walked through us with it and was there. And man, we need community. When you're going through something like that, you cannot do it alone. We've met other families who were going through what we were, and they didn't want anyone to know. You get super private. I mean, but think about it, like maybe if not in this, but we have seen with people who need kidneys or who are going through a medical crisis or financial or whatever it is. I don't care, whatever it is, whatever your need is or your miracle, like they hide it. But God wants to be on display. Like he can be on display in the very thing that you think is impossible. Like if you let him. I would say that. And I don't know what I would say, but
Well, I love what you've already shared.
Yeah.
I know it was a
Same.
lot. I was
No, it's perfect.
It is perfect, and that's just your story. It's what you've been through. I know there's a whole lot more.
There is a whole lot
said,
more.
but-
Yeah, for me personally, what God told me last year, that was the other reason I didn't want to share it, is that I have, since all this has happened and I'm not in that position that I had before, as a worship director, it was this kind of like identity crisis. Like, where do I go? Where do I belong? Just like Jail needed to figure out like her new story, where she was at, Kernis, all of us. There was a lot of loneliness and trying to just like, God, where do I belong and what do you have for me now? Sometimes when you've been in a hard place, learning to walk in the new is just as hard. So maybe you're that was hard, but learning to stand up and like, okay, this was part of my story, but this is new. This is what God is doing now. And that's been for me to rise up into and build community, the ministry that God's birthed from Welcome to the Table ministry that you know about, that was from a place of brokenness. What God did, just a desire to see people find healthy, safe, loving community where they're seen, they're known, they're loved, but more importantly, affirmed in who God says they are.
That.
And so God told me last year that, Cherri, the story of what happened to jail is yours, but that's not your story. Really, Cornelius and jail are like, that's their story. Cornelius is writing. He's been invited speaking on
Which
that.
is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am a part of that. And God used that to strengthen my faith and to champion my daughter, to champion my husband,
Yeah.
to see what he's doing, like God's doing in him, what the faith that it's built on my children, because we did it together, like whole family. It strengthened us. This resolve that God is who he says he is. And so that's it. God is who he says he is. And if you're needing a miracle, the God of miracles can give you a miracle. In the waiting, while you're waiting, he's working. Don't give up hope. Rest in him.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love the REST acronym that you used to.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say that a minute
Yeah,
ago, but I love that.
Yeah, that's been a good anchor for me.
I bet.
So
Thank you for sharing all of
yeah,
that.
thank you for having me. And maybe it seemed heavy, but I want people to see, like, I'm just an ordinary mom, an ordinary woman who, and there's so many of us that need to see us live our faith out in the hard, in the ordinary, in the everyday. And there are other people who are hurting and needing to see that God can meet you in that place in a very. So I don't care what your situation is. I believe it with my whole heart. Would look at you that God can do a miracle for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's a miracle working God.
Yes, yeah.
And you mentioned the welcome to the table that you
Yes.
do. Do you want to share like a tiny bit about it? Like,
Yeah.
since that is
Part of
part
it.
of your story
Yeah.
now, like, because God's,
That's a big shift.
I know.
Is it?
And you don't have to go, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever you want to share, you don't
Yeah.
have to. But I love that
So
he
God,
wastes nothing.
No, he wastes
Shout out to
nothing.
Misty.
Yes.
He wastes nothing.
Yeah.
And our friend Misty always says that. Sorry.
Yes. Well, the word he gave me
but-
for that about wasting nothing is sometimes we have to go through the fire to burn the ropes that are holding us back.
Oh.
And I was being
That's
held
so
back.
good.
And that is my word from this. That is my word, that the fire that I went through burned off the ropes that held me back. And I'm becoming, or I am the woman that he wants me to be right now with what I'm doing.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that all the ministry of worship and those things, because I still do that. I still get invited. I go to conferences or retreats and I still do that. But there's been this big shift of like, I don't need to improve. Like I was a very much a woman who we get really hung up on what we do
Yeah.
to earn like almost like God's favor and blessing. And I want to tell you that that's not a good way to live.
It's not.
And I learned that in this too, that I put so much weight on what I needed to do to prove my value in God. And I didn't realize so much of my identity wrapped up in that. So when you come out of like, okay, I'm not this worship leader in this, anymore. So who am I, Lord? What am I? And it's like, and I think a lot of women have this when they're going through changes or seasons in their life, like when your children leave home or perimenopause or, retirement.
Even when you have young kids at home and you maybe don't work the way you did. Yeah.
Right. When there's whatever shift, just like, who am I, God? And finding the anchor in that, being a child of God. But I was on another podcast shortly after JL's thing. It might have only been a year after her transplant, if that. And she was having me share a little bit of JL's story. But after the podcast, hey, we were hanging out and like, having fun, and I just told her, I says, what do you think, Katie, if I would have women to my house, like, for a meal, and I just want to encourage women because I'm feeling like, and what it was I actually heard Mel Robbins say this, like, put your big girl panties on, and she was talking about making friends. And I was like, because I was feeling like isolated. Like, if you had seen me in my social life, I have a lot of people around me, but I was a new community,
Yeah.
and I didn't have like, oh, they know me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just being really honest. I didn't have the whole like, oh, they know me. Like, that other circle I was in, people knew me. So it was kind of like I was having to learn to like make a friend and talk with people in a way that like, in a different way. And so she just looked at me, Cherri, you don't need permission to have women in your house. And some of that was some unhealth from what I experienced under some leadership before. See, I was needing healing from that to come out of that. So I'm like, okay, I have this whole thing. I want to call it welcome to the table. I'll never forget when one of my coach friends told me, Cherri, you are welcome at this table. What you have to offer is valid and valued. And I was like, oh, that just like spoke to my heart to know like I have something
Yeah.
that is valuable
Absolutely.
to contribute. And I think every person wants to know that I have something of value and purpose to give. At least I did. That was just the heart cry from his very young, like 14, 15 years, knowing that God had something for me, just me.
Yeah.
And not just me, every one of us. So I did it. That next month I just went on Facebook and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be having welcome to the table this dinner, and I would love to have you come. I'm going to be cooking for you. I just want you to hang out with me. And I forget. It was very cute. It was a cool reel. I made it cool and trendy, like, and I did some personal invites, but I was curious how many I could catch. And I decided I was only going to do it once a month because I didn't want it to be too much because women are too busy.
Yeah.
And after going through what we did with JL, I was like, women are so busy, but
Yeah.
they want to connect with
Yeah.
people. So I thought, I'll just do it once a month. So I planned it the last Friday of the month, and I had 8 ladies come. And it was really simple. All it is just a meal around the table. I usually have a little conversation a little conversation starter where someone can I ask a question. There's no right or wrong answer because I had non-believers and believers come.
Awesome.
And I wanted everyone to feel they had something to contribute
Yeah.
at the table. And I ended with a short little something that God had put on my heart, just 10 minutes. And it was done. I said 2 hours. I promised you just 2 hours so that they could get back to their families. What was so amazing that first time was that the 8 women all knew me, but none of them knew each other.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so it was just,
Cool.
but every month it grew. I've 10, 12, 15, 20, 25. It was just exploding.
So cool.
And women and churches asking me, what are you doing? Small groups are dying, but you keep growing. And so since then, I've been writing and done workshops, just talking about living our faith in the everyday ordinary. God can take that and make it sacred. Some of the mightiest people I was most impacted by people who lived their faith like that with me.
Yeah.
That's part of my story. And so encouraging women that one of your greatest assets or treasures that we have is your home. It's the greatest mission field, not just for your family, but you can use it. Surrendered to the Lord, biblical hospitality. I believe it's like the most evangelistic tool. It's the gateway. I get people who would never go to church come to my house. They meet a Christian woman, they become friends, and they end up going to church.
That's so
changing
cool.
their lives.
Yep.
So that came out of this dark time.
pain.
I love it.
My
Yeah.
pain.
Out of the pain.
Yes.
And
It's-
even just when you share bits of your story with people in your home,
Yeah.
again, your testimony like shows the power of what God can do. And if he can do it for you, he can do it for other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the hugest thing when they come, my women or my home or in my life. It's not just me, it's you. You have something. So I want them to know, and I just be encouraged that God has something for you. even
love
when
that.
you feel like you don't. And so, or that he doesn't have something or you've been forgotten. So,
You definitely have like the heart of an encourager. Like truly.
thank you.
Like that's so evident.
Because you got to come to my home.
Okay, let's go.
I've been and I want to go back.
Listen,
I went
see,
to.
that's the thing. Christians today, this is where I've told you this. It's so easy for us to go to church, sit next to people and see the message and hear it and then go home.
Yeah.
And everything is hidden in your house.
Yep.
And we don't really know what someone's going through. We don't know, like we just living so, and like you get you get to see the real.
Yeah.
It could look a little messy in some people's homes. Okay.
Or a lot messy in my home.
Yeah. Like not just physically, but spiritually,
Yes.
mentally,
Yes.
emotionally.
Yes.
And so they need to see us in the very raw, like our hearts being open and vulnerable. And it takes some heart work to open your heart and your home to people. It does. And I'm pretty passionate about that. I feel that that God can use you in a way if you open your heart and your home. Not every home is ready for that. Some women need to be walked and mentored in that. But they're going to discover things in your home with you and just your everyday ordinary.
I love
Yeah.
I
So
love that. Thank you for sharing that. I know you're like, that's a big transition to that.
But, yeah.
But it did come out of that season.
the hard.
And
It
it's
came
so
out
beautiful
hard.
and it's multiplying.
It's multiplying.
Which is
and growing.
discipleship in action. Like
Yes.
Yes, it
when
is.
you're essentially discipling people in your home.
Yeah.
And then they go and do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
that's what and my children get to see it and be part of it.
It's so cool.
Yeah. My
And you had some like
husband-
big gatherings.
Yeah,
like,
we do
that-
big gatherings. Like
in the
we do
summer?
worship at our house. Like in the summer, we do an ice cream worship thing.
So
And it sounds
cool.
so bad. To me, I have to be honest, it sounds kind of old school, like old fashioned.
I love
ice
it.
cream social, come over. And they do. And
Didn't you have over
a
100 people?
Yes, last year we did it. My friend Misty and you ladies all
Yes.
know her. If you don't know her, you need to know her.
We need to know where.
But, she came and she shared her story because I want people to hear stories of faith. And so she shared, and we did some worship and music, and I was a little more tentative. Like we did that great, but then this year I was like, we're going all out. If people need prayer, we're gonna lay hands on people. Like
I love it.
people did. I could
love
not
it.
believe. There was church, non-church. People were like, hey, come bring your kids, free ice cream. We had good ice cream. Like, we spent.
That's the way to do it.
People brought toppings, your lawn chair. We got a tent, and it was just so good, and it
Awesome.
was intimate. Even though we had about that many in my backyard, it was still really intimate. I really get afraid sometimes when things get so big. Like, can we keep the intimacy? Can we keep the connection? Because I have a hard time with candidness and superficial.
Yeah.
Like and people are really good at it.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm like, all of us can kind of be good at putting the mask on and doing it because we got to, but I've been really working on, can people see my heart and see that I love them? And, and there's something, Jesus.
I guarantee they can see it.
Yes.
Oh, good.
And I know
that's
that all of our people watching today are going to see it.
Oh, good. Yes, please. I just want to encourage whoever is listening to know that God has something for you and a miracle is waiting for you, whatever it is. There's a
Amen.
scripture. Yeah, I want to end with this, I think. Let me find it. I know you're like, okay, she's not stopping.
I would love, let's just keep going.
No, this is good. So Job 14:7 says, even a tree has hope if it is cut down, but even a tree cut down will grow new branches. So you may feel cut down and just like nothing, barren. Like I've totally felt that. And God is the God who can do a new thing, a new growth from the thing that you think is cut down and dead.
Absolutely.
He's the God of resurrection, the only
Yes,
God.
he is.
So he can resurrect your situation.
Yes, he can. Miracle working God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
all
having
of the
me.
things that you shared. You were
Yes.
awesome.
Thank
and I
you.
knew you would be because I know your
Okay.
heart.
Thank you.
So I hope you know that. I hope you know how amazing you
It
are.
was great to be here with you ladies.
We loved
Yes,
having
yeah.
you.
I'm glad you came all the way from Michigan
Yeah.
just for
Just
us.
for us.
Yes.
No, we know it was actually for Misty,
switched.
but
It was for Misty, but I could have done it last
I
week.
know,
I was going to be
I
here last week,
know.
but then I switched it. Thought,
'Cause
man,
I was
what a
gone,
special.
and-
I would like to see you, Lindsay.
and then this worked out. It's amazing.
So thank you. It's a privilege.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have you.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we can put, I don't know how much you want to, don't you have a website for Welcome to the Table?
I have a welcometothetable.com, and then I also have a cherrybornman.com.
You do? Okay. Well, we can link
Yeah.
those too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she's an amazing worship leader. You're writing some, you're speaking, and you're doing
and it's
Welcome to the
taking
Table.
time, people.
Yes.
And I don't even know what it's all about. Like this, the speaking, it's been like accelerated. Like every month I'm traveling now, 1 or 2 weekends.
So cool.
For worship or speaking.
Yeah.
But, and I just think, God, who am I? Guys, it just makes me realize God doesn't care as long as you're surrendered
Yep.
and you're like, God, take who I am. But yeah,
It's awesome. When you obey, he'll use that for his for good.
Yes, he
for
will.
his
For his
glory,
kingdom and his
for
glory.
his kingdom. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're great.
That's
at
what
it.
I was gonna say. That's my foggy old lady brain right now. That the writing and the speaking, I really don't know. Like there's a lot of push to produce people.
Yeah, I agree.
And go big or go home, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But my message actually isn't that. My welcome to the table, I want lots of women to be equipped to know how to disciple and love and welcome people in their home. And that's small.
Yeah.
That's just like having a few women, 3, 4, families.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like that's not this huge grand stage. And I feel like God keeps telling me, Cherri, take it away. Like people already know and have had this stage and the thing, but they leave. And where was the everyday? Like they get the experience, but like, someone, I could go on forever.
It's like for the individual
Right.
people, the small amounts of people, you don't need the huge stage.
Right.
Like God can work
In the
just
little.
as much in the
And-
small and
yes, and the
yeah.
very small, and he works in the waiting.
Yeah, he
Yes.
does. And we don't like that.
We don't. And I feel like he's been pulling me back that rest thing, which isn't meaning I'm not doing anything, but it just means that I'm giving time and space for him to do his thing
Yeah.
and that I'm ready for his thing. That's another thing that there are times we're not ready for
Yeah.
some of the things they
Yeah.
think we need to do.
Yeah.
That's,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just
Awesome.
needs to work it through us. So
And we can trust him while
Yes.
we wait.
yes, we can.
Thank you, friend,
thank you.
for all your wisdom
Thank
and your
you.
sharing. So good. So good.
Definitely. And thank you guys for tuning in today. We
Yeah.
hope you're encouraged by Cherri's story and
I know you will be.
what
Yeah.
she is doing with Welcome to the Table. I think that's just beautiful. And we would encourage you to open your home to somebody. It could be just 2 people. It doesn't have to be 100, maybe someday.
Yeah.
But it's important to show people more than just your Instagram reel. Let them know who you
Yes.
are. And in turn, you'll get to know other really cool people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So until next time, grab a shield. We'll see you out there.
See you guys.